That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, warning. I know that we're going to trigger some people here, but we're going to go through and talk about 5, maybe 6, 7 wide receivers because there were a couple guys at the end of this list that I had to include in here because we've been getting so many questions in the live streams in the comment section as well. So make sure you stick to the end of the video because I have some names that I think we really have to discuss. But of course, before we do that, I need to kind of ramble on here as we pull up our last YouTube video so I can go through and pick out some comments from. And we actually just uploaded this video. So if you came out to this video and you commented right away, you have a much better shot. And if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, if you're subscribed to the channel and you go down there, drop a like and leave a comment on a video, you actually get entered to win a Fantasy Flock Network hat. We give away 4 or 5 hats every single day. And we're going to do this throughout the entire season. We should be giving away over 500 hats this year. And our first comment coming out from Joeke Sue. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Said, love the content. Thanks for the 3-0. Let's go for the 4-0. Congrats on that, of course. And we already got back to you in the comment section. And our next one is going to be from Fallon, who another person we actually replied to already in the comment section. Says, yo, Mason, I'm leading in first in 3 leagues, second in about 2, and third in a few of the flock leagues. Let's go. My friend, thank you so much. Of course, a long time supporter of the channel. I genuinely appreciate it. And if you ever win a Fantasy Vlog Network hat, you just go to the description of the video, send me an email with the account that you left that comment with your physical address so I can go through and I can get you those hats out ASAP. Maybe go and egg your house or something at the same time. But outside of that, I think we should be good. Let's go through and let's talk about some of these wide receivers that you should not be starting here. And our first guy is going to be someone we had on our do not start list this past week, and he crushed. And I was sitting here going like, okay, well, I guess we're an idiot. But Jaylen Waddle. Okay, so here with Jaylen Waddle, I'm concerned because Will Fuller's back at practice. Okay, so if Will Fuller was going to be missing this week, like in the live streams we had back on Wednesday, we are actually telling some people to go through and start Jaylen Waddle in a couple spots because it was looking like Will Fuller was potentially going to miss this week. Well, now that Will Fuller's back at practice, Will Fuller looks like he should be playing on Sunday. And I know Jaylen Waddle has been fantastic so far this season. Like if you're trying to find the best wide receiver outside of Jamar Chase so far this year, it's easily been Jaylen Waddle, where he's been able to draw 26 targets so far this season. And you're not expecting this with Jaylen Waddle because Jaylen Waddle, that speed wide receiver coming out of Alabama, at least I was expecting him to more so play that Henry Ruggs style where, yes, he's going very high in the NFL draft. He's going higher than someone like Devonta Smith, who was much more productive over him. But it made sense if you were just viewing Jaylen Waddle and the elite speed that he was going to have, that he could stretch the field for the Miami Dolphins. And while that wouldn't necessarily be great for Waddle himself, while that wouldn't necessarily make Waddle a player that's going to get a ridiculous amount of target volume, it would boost the efficiency of the other players in the offense, understanding that the opposing defense would have to keep 2 safeties back and they'd have to go through and shadow Jaylen Waddle throughout the game. Kind of see that with Henry Ruggs, where Henry Ruggs definitely helps out the Las Vegas Raiders offense every time he's on the field, even if he's not getting a lot of targets. Well, I was worried that Jaylen Waddle is going to be like that. But if you're looking at the routes that he is running, if you're looking at his average depth of target, very surprising to see that this is someone that's actually running a considerable amount of routes where he is going across the line of scrimmage, where he isn't just taking that pure vertical threat. And you see this with a multitude of ways. If he was that field stretching wide receiver, there'd be no way in hell that he's getting to 26 targets. B, you see that his catch rate is through the roof, where he has 22 receptions on 26 targets. C, you see that his yards per target isn't that impressive at all, where he actually has 167 receiving yards so far on 26 targets. So Jaylen Waddle, I love the usage that he has in this offense. But the problem is Jacoby Brissett is a very bad quarterback. Now, if we pull this up, and I really want to go through and highlight the actual stats that you had from Jacoby Brissett this game. I know that we had a lot of people coming out and talking about the just overall stat line for the Miami Dolphins this week and wanting to go through and just lean on it heavily and act like it mattered a lot. Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that much if you're just looking at those totals, understanding that they had an entire extra quarter that they could play with the overtime. So I'm not necessarily just wanting to say, oh, we got this many targets, this many receptions, that's going to be predictive going forward. Instead, I'd rather look at the efficiency here that we actually had from Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett came out. Oh my God, this is worse than I thought. It was way worse than I thought. Okay, so far this season, Jacoby Brissett has had 89 passing attempts, right? 89 passing attempts. And if you're looking at this with his adjusted yards per attempt, I didn't even know it went this low. 3.8 yards, adjusted yards per attempt. That is disgusting. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is going to make it where I cannot start any of these Miami Dolphins players. Jacoby Brissett, I know the total production looks okay, but it was more so based off them having the extra quarter. It was more so them based on having to throw the ball going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. This is still, I know we called Davis Mills the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Jacoby Brissett could be fighting Davis Mills for that title. And then Jaylen Waddle, if Will Fuller is going to be coming back to this offense as well. I know that he's been great so far, and I have to give him his credit. And once Tua Tagovailoa comes back, I'll be very excited for Jaylen Waddle. But for now, with Jacoby Brissett, I mean, this is a spot where we're needing to avoid. Now, our next player is going to be Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith here going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Smith, just another one of these Alabama rookie wide receivers. Y'all know we actually went back and in week 1, we called him someone that was a must bench wide receiver, and it blew up in our face where Devonta Smith came out in week 1 and he looked fantastic whenever the Eagles just stomped the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, so far this season, he's actually averaged 7 targets a game. Now, the efficiency has been really bad, which is honestly, that shouldn't be that surprising, understanding that Jalen Hurts is not a quarterback that's going to be a very high efficient passer. You're looking at it so far. He's had 11 completions. He's also had 115 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown to go along with it. Now, I know that this matchup on paper is really good for Devonta Smith going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, knowing that we saw this past week that the Philadelphia Eagles, they're 100% willing to just go through and abandon the run completely. I mean, we saw that whenever the Dallas Cowboys got to a significant lead, and against the Kansas City Chiefs, you should be expecting the same thing here. But the problem with Smith is you're just seeing way too much usage for both of the tight ends in this offense. I think with Smith, he definitely has a high ceiling. Like if you're playing in a DFS tournament or something and you're going through trying to identify someone that does have that high ceiling, he's definitely a play. But based on the past 2 weeks with the floor that we have seen from this Philadelphia Eagles offense, the floor that we have seen from Devonta Smith himself, I think that we actually probably had the right call initially that this is a wide receiver that we wanted to be benching at the beginning of the season, knowing that he can turn into that alpha wide receiver near the end of the year where he begins to see 22, 23% of his team's target share. But for now, there's just too much of this pie going to the tight end position here in Philadelphia. Also, Jalen Reagor has been getting some targets. So Smith, despite this being a really good matchup against a bad defense, which I know is going to get a lot of people excited, I still think we need to be avoiding just based on how bad he's been over the past 2 weeks. Now, our next wide receiver, I mean, talk about someone that is just getting a path cleared out for him. Tim Patrick, going from being the 5th receiving option on this team to now being the 3rd. I mean, you have the injury to Jerry Jeudy, high ankle sprain. Now, KJ Hamler, RIP KJ Hamler, done for the year here. And with Tim Patrick, this is someone that is stepping up into that role where he'll be the 2nd receiver on the Denver Broncos. But keep in mind, Noah Fant on this offense. Noah Fant is essentially a pure receiving tight end. Noah Fant's not really staying in line to block at all. And I know the Denver Broncos have looked really good. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater has looked fantastic this season. But come on. They have played the Jets, they have played the Giants, and they have played the Jags, I believe. I mean, it's been very easy. It's been a cakewalk so far for this Denver Broncos team. And I know a lot of people want to get excited about Tim Patrick here, and understandably so. I mean, he made that highlight catch down the sideline this past week against the New York Jets. But at the end of the day, I'm expecting that this Baltimore Ravens and Denver Broncos game is actually going to be extremely low scoring, where you're looking at both teams being centered around their defense. Tim Patrick is the 3rd receiving option on the Denver Broncos. I know for whatever reason, I mean, these players that come off the waiver wire every year, I mean, these guys like Tim Patrick, people just get so damn excited to go through and jam them in their starting lineup. Like it's weird because I feel like people, whenever they play Tim Patrick, they like go, okay, I'm a genius here. I got someone that nobody else is thinking about. When in reality, everybody in every single live stream, every question I get is, oh, can I play Tim Patrick here? Can I play Tim Patrick? Like, am I finding an under the radar guy? No, everybody knows about Tim Patrick, and for a good reason, because Tim Patrick does make these highlight catches. But he's the 3rd option on the Denver Broncos offense in a bad matchup. Don't be playing Tim Patrick. Now, our next receiver is actually going to be a group of wide receivers, and they're actually going to be playing in the most appealing game this week. And they had great weeks back in week 3. Christian Kirk and AJ Green. Now, they're going up against the Los Angeles Rams here, and they both were fantastic this past week. Christian Kirk, so far this season, he's had 17 targets, 15 receptions, 239 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns as well. I mean, the volume hasn't been there, but he has been ridiculously efficient. I mean, having 239 receiving yards off of only 17 targets, that is ridiculous. I mean, going back to a player that we actually talked about in the video this morning, you're looking at Allen Robinson with 21 targets, so 4 targets more than Christian Kirk. And Allen Robinson, 86 receiving yards. It's a night and day difference here where Christian Kirk has been fantastic. And I know he looked good this past week, but keep in mind, DeAndre Hopkins was dealing with that rib injury. This is a player that a lot of people didn't even know if he was going to be playing this past week. I think DeAndre Hopkins should be healthier going into this week 4 matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. And y'all know I called Rondale Moore. I mean, Rondale Moore was on our do not start wide receiver list this past week, and we understood that this is someone that wasn't getting enough snaps. This is someone that didn't have a large enough role in this offense. We wanted to be betting on Rondale Moore for the rest of the season. We wanted to be high on him for the end of the year, knowing that he will continue to expand his role. But for whatever reason, I guess it was a game plan specific thing against what should have been a very easy matchup for Rondale Moore in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cliff Kingsbury really didn't have him run any routes at all. I think going back to week 2, what we saw from Rondale Moore, we should maybe see Rondale Moore come back to playing about 50% of the snaps. DeAndre Hopkins should see more targets and more overall volume in this game. So while Christian Kirk and AJ Green looked good this past week, really don't think we should be starting them, even though I love this game. I mean, I wanted to get Chase Edmonds in there. I want to get DeAndre Hopkins in there. Of course, we want Kyler. On the Los Angeles Rams side, we want Cooper Kupp. We want Darrell Henderson. We want Tyler Higbee. We want Matthew Stafford. I want as many pieces in this game as I can get. But these secondary wide receivers for Arizona, we really can't go with them. Now, our next receiving option is going to be someone that, my God, I think that at this point, you're honestly beginning to consider if we should cut him. It's going to be Robby Anderson. So Robby Anderson, one of the most disappointing wide receivers so far in fantasy drafts. I mean, this is a player that through 3 weeks has had 11 targets. He has not managed to average 4 targets per game. I know the matchup's great against Dallas, which is going to convince some people to possibly go play Robby Anderson, as well as the thought process that without Christian McCaffrey here, you could see this team lean a little bit more on the pass. And I understand that thought process. Robby Anderson should see slightly more volume, which is why you can't drop Robby Anderson. I mean, I think that would be a very bad thing to do, especially knowing that he does have that spike week potential. And if he gets that spike week, all of a sudden you could potentially be looking to flip for a profit. But with those 11 targets so far, he's only had 5 receptions, 103 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown to go along with it. So Robby Anderson may be appealing based on the matchup, but the volume just simply is not there. Terrace Marshall actually played his career high in snaps this past week, so it looks like he is trending to be in a direction where he's going to see more and more usage in this offense. So I'm going to be fading Robby Anderson about as hard as I can, and I know that DJ Moore can potentially get shadowed by Diggs. I'm honestly not too concerned about that. I think that he actually covers a little bit more the combination of Robby Anderson and DJ Moore. So Robby Anderson, just someone that I want nothing to do with. Now, our next wide receiver will be a player that we liked in drafts. We said don't give up on him at the beginning part of the season. He was actually a buy low candidate for us. Brandon Aiyuk. Okay, so with Brandon Aiyuk, he actually looked pretty damn good this past week where he comes out, he gets a receiving touchdown, 4 receptions, and 37 receiving yards to go along with it. So yeah, I mean, from a fantasy production standpoint, Brandon Aiyuk had a great day for you. But he did only see 6 targets. And with Aiyuk, I mean, we were on record saying after week 1, after week 2, it wasn't a lack of talent with Brandon Aiyuk. It was the hamstring injury that was making him just not being able to play a significant amount of snaps. Now he is taking over as that every down player for the San Francisco 49ers. I think with Aiyuk, you can be very excited about what we have for the rest of the season. And I am on record saying that here with Trey Lance, Lance is going to be a significantly better fit with Brandon Aiyuk compared to what you'll actually have with Deebo Samuel, knowing that if we go back to what Trey Lance was in college, this is a quarterback based on his ability to extend plays by just going through with his legs and his big arm. He is not someone that's going to have to check the ball down consistently like Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, he doesn't have the ability to extend plays with his legs. If his first, second reads aren't there, he can't just run out of the pocket and then go pick up the first ground running the ball. He actually has to go through and just check it down to Deebo Samuel running across the line of scrimmage. With Brandon Aiyuk, that's going to be a little bit different, where I think that Trey Lance actually looks to throw the ball down the field aggressively here. So I think we can be very excited about what we are going to get for Brandon Aiyuk at the end of the year. But I want to see 2 weeks in a row. Let's see 2 weeks in a row of Brandon Aiyuk production before we can jam him in our lineup, even though this matchup against the Seattle Seahawks is very encouraging. I think this game can be very high scoring based on how we know Russell Wilson can throw the ball with efficiency, as well as the fact that, I mean, this 49ers team doesn't necessarily have a great running back options right now where they're possibly going to have to lean on the pass. I still want to wait one more week on Brandon Aiyuk, even though I really do like him rest of season. Now, our next wide receiver was actually on our must bench video this past week, and I'll say it worked out for us, but we got incredibly lucky. We should have got crushed with this call. It's going to be Hollywood Brown. Now, with Hollywood Brown, yeah, we got lucky this past week because of some key drops that made Hollywood just be way more disappointing than his opportunity should indicate. Like, I'll tell you right now, I have to admit, we got lucky based on him just dropping the ball every time he got targeted against Detroit. This is a player that's been good so far, but you're seeing Rashad Bateman work its way back. You saw this past week, Mark Andrews get the volume that we've been looking for as well. And just going back to what we were discussing with Tim Patrick, this matchup against the Denver Broncos is not one we want to be going through and playing these guys. And I mean, the number of players I'll be playing in this matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. Let's go through this list. I want to be playing Mark Andrews. I want to be playing Lamar Jackson. I want to be playing Cortland Sutton. There are 3 guys here, and Hollywood Brown, Tim Patrick are not going to be those options. If you look at implied team totals right now from Las Vegas, I'll pull this up so we can go through and talk about this a little bit in the video, just because this definitely does matter a lot. I mean, we know Las Vegas. They know best. They know more than we do. And if you're looking at the implied team totals here, you're going to see that the Ravens are actually near the bottom of the NFL. They're actually the 24th team with their implied team total of 22 points. I mean, you actually have some teams at the top, like the Buffalo Bills up there with an implied team total of 32, so 10 points more than the Baltimore Ravens. I really think we want to be avoiding this situation with Baltimore as well as with Denver and Hollywood. I just think that what we got through the first 2 weeks, there was a reason we called him a sell high player. I don't think it's going to maintain. Now, our last receiving option does have a role in the best offense in football, according to Vegas, by this week with the Buffalo Bills and Emmanuel Sanders. Now, my problem with starting Emmanuel Sanders, I know he's an every down player here, but I'm really expecting this game to get out of hand. I would imagine that Stephon Diggs puts up a considerable amount of points early in this matchup, and then they can just go through and they can just run the ball near the end of the game. Keep in mind, you're looking at the spread this week in this game against the Houston Texans. The spread is 16 points. The Buffalo Bills are supposed to win by 16 points here. The next highest spread this week is by 7.5, I believe. Yeah, I think that the next highest spread is 7.5 with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cincinnati Bengals, and then also with the, I can't even see the other one, with the Giants and the New Orleans Saints. You really want nothing to do with what you're going to be getting from the secondary wide receivers in Buffalo. Love starting Diggs, love starting Allen, love starting Zach Moss. But Emmanuel Sanders, this isn't going to be a game where Josh Allen has to throw the ball 50 plus times. I mean, if you add Emmanuel Sanders and the Buffalo Bills going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Dallas Cowboys, those are games where we definitely want to be jamming them in. But this matchup against the Houston Texans is not one of those. Now, thank you. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure y'all go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if you want to get entered to win a Fantasy Flock Network hat. And outside of that, I think that should be it. You know, we'll be live streaming every single night for the rest of the year. We've live streamed like 100 days in a row. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. And have a great day.